have seen. So I tried to break it down, and I saw that there are variables within variables. Usually in academic environment, when you look at a topic, you want to look at the variables. You want to know which one is dependent on which one, so that it will be easy for you to actually approach that topic and break it down. So I observed that we have the main variable, that's the dependent variable, which is the electoral process or elections, that depends on the independent variable, which we have free election and fair election. Within the context of fair election and free election, you also discover that we still have two variables there that are dependent on each other. Because you can never have a fair election if it is not free, or you cannot have a free election if it is not fair. So which one comes first, chicken or the egg? So you look at within that context also, you have two concepts that are actually struggling for attention. So I want to, for the purpose of this lecture, says that a free election depends on fair election. In Nigeria, it is easy to contemplate on free election because you just need to put some indices here and there. Call Madam from Ghana to come and monitor, get the EU to come here, get some soldiers with arms, get some DSS and so on. You can actually achieve free election within a short period of time because it's a short-term concept. But conceptually, what is fair? What is fair election? It does not exist. There's no election that can be fair. Fair from whose perspective? If Obi wins election now, it may not be fair for the Bat group. If Bat wins, Obi may not be happy. So what is fair election? How do you define, how do you conceptualize what is fair? It does not exist, basically. And I want us to see that issues of election in Nigeria is actually destroyed from the electoral processes itself. In other words, how do you choose your candidate within the party? How do you choose? You gather some people, give them so much money, you call them delegates, and they vote somebody among themselves, and that is your candidate. Then the rest of us have to line up and vote for that person. It's a charade. It's nonsense. It's a charade. We must begin to change these processes because if I have so much money, I mean, I've been in the government for some time. It's not here I'm going to expose some of the things that happens. I was in government when Obasanjo actually emerged as the PDP, candidate. I knew what happened in Jos. So it's a charade, basically, in most cases. And we should put ourselves together because this is not a jamboree where we just come and sit down and talk and make ourselves happy. By the time we leave here, we shouldn't be that happy because we have to cancel that process that everybody will go and gather in a hotel, then they will start carrying dollars and sharing the money. Then the second day, you go and queue up. And perhaps, you bring forward the worst character that the country can afford. How do we get to this point? How do we get to this point where every time this country, as if we are caused, we bring up the worst character in the system? How do we get to this point? So for me, I don't think we should start looking at whether it's free or fair. There's nothing like fair election because the people that we are trying to vote for in a few weeks' time may not be the best candidate or the best character that this country can afford. So why are we wasting our time? So now, let me tell you also that in this country, there cannot be fair election. I will tell you why. Any country where you see the ruling party controlling the judiciary, 100% is paying their salary, is appointing them, you can never get justice in that system. It is obvious that the APC government today is controlling the judiciary 100%. So how do you get justice for, in the electoral process? You are all lawyers, so I don't need to tell you the decadence that is in the system, you know. So that's number one reason. If a ruling government is controlling the judicial process, then it is very hard for that ruling party to relinquish power to the opposition. It's going to be very difficult. So you cannot get a fair or free election when a government is controlling the judicial process. The second reason is the lawmakers. Look at Nigeria. Look at the number of people. Look at the demography. Look at the nationalities at the National Assembly and the House of Representatives. Look at the people there. Anything Buhari wants, he gets. Yes or no? Then what is the concept of separation of powers? If the executive is equal to the judiciary and the judiciary in this country is equal to the legislator, it's just one and the same. So we cannot come and sit down here and be speaking about free and fair election. It cannot work in this country as it is now. And it is late in the day to make amends because you cannot start, throwing away those people that are in the Senate that are just collecting money, and doing whatever Buhari wants for them. Now, look at the judiciary. You cannot begin now to change all those people that are heading your judicial system. And if the executive is equal to the judiciary plus legislator, then if this election that is coming that I'm thinking is going to be very close, there's a lot of noise in the hall. Am I disturbing? Now, this election that I'm saying now is going to be close, Let's be very realistic and be dispassionate. Obi is going to get a lot of votes. Bat is going to get, the other one is going to. So what's going to happen? So we are going to have a situation where there'll be no winner and no, because you remember Akenji Day, 2/3 of 36. 2/3 of 19. Okay. So let's say we now get to that point. How do you get justice in that system? Who is going to make the law? Is it these people that say in the House of Assembly that are going to do something that's going to be justiciable? So that's the second reason why you cannot have free and fair election. I think you got it, number one. The second one is the issue of control of the three arms of the government. The other one is what the lecturer actually mentioned, issue of economic woes in Nigeria. Inflation rates today. Look at the interest rate. I'm an entrepreneur. I don't know how this country has survived up till now. It's very difficult for me to understand. Because if I borrow 10 million from FCMB, I pay rate of interest. If they borrow me 10 million, I pay interest rate, isn't it? Some of us that are economists here, there's a difference between interest rate and rate of interest. So if I borrow money from FCMB, they charge me some money to, to pay back every month. But if I go to borrow money from them, I'm going to pay about 50%. And if you doubt me, go and regress it, get a loan of 10 million from any bank, and see how much you pay every day, every month, multiply it by the number of years. You are going to pay close to 50% or more. Now, if I put the same 10 million in the bank, I'm going to be giving like 12% or 16 maximum. Now, if I put that money in shares investment. What is the return on investment on shares? You cannot borrow money as an entrepreneur and survive. Look at the prices of goods and services. So the deduction is that Nigerians has been so pulverized in poverty that their extreme poverty has actually gotten to 60 to 70% of the population. So why won't stomach infrastructure work? Why won't it work? If I cannot afford 5,000 in a month and somebody call me and give me 30,000, will I really vote for my conscience? Will I really vote for my conscience? I think it's not going to be very possible. So when you have made the population so poor to the point that they can no longer vote their conscience, then how fair is that election? I'm not talking about being free. It's easy to achieve that. How fair it is. If on that day I queue up and they say, oh, if I'm going to take a bag of rice and beans, then I should move here. Then when you finish voting, then you come to the other side and get the balance. So I have to actually vote against my conscience and collect a bag of rice, and after I will go and show evidence I've voted, then I get the balance, maybe 20,000. So how fair is that kind of election? Because we are looking at being fair in a different dimension. The people that are supposed to vote, can they vote according to their conscience? The answer is no. That democracy is bad, or we cannot do election, it's not fair, it's not fair. Don't get me wrong. But the reality is different from the ideals. All the time, we see all these theories, all these good intentions, all the plans, logistics, we see them. When Yaradua was coming, we saw them. When Buhari was coming, we saw all these are always very well articulated and present. But like in the military, every plan you make does not survive the first shot. Once you get to the zone and there's a shot, all your plans always, dissolve. Let me tell you, for you to really win election in Nigeria, it's not very serious. What you just need is have the INEC chairman on your side, have the judiciary, maybe the legislators. The masses, that is why I'm here now. The masses, 60 to 70% of Nigerian masses are, experiencing extreme poverty. These are the reality. It's not about beavers. I voted in my village in Imashai, and there's no network there. So there are a lot of challenges, but I don't want you to see me as like maybe I'm trying to be antagonistic. No, the reality is that there are things that doesn't want me to, that doesn't allow me to come out to speak. I know what happened during Obasanjo's election. I know what happened during Yaradua's election. Yaradua did not win the election. He said it himself. Everybody has their prizes. Our people are not educated in the real terms. And it is deliberate policy to kill education in this country. Don't you know? Is there any country in Africa that university will go on strike for months? Which country do that? And as Madam said, I want to really conclude because I don't want us to waste too much time. When you regress 3 indices that she actually talked about, the Human Development Index, the Democracy Index, and the Corruption Perception Index, if you regress these 3, divided by 3, you are going to get the value that will determine how this election, for example, is going to go. I can predict with certainty how this country will turn out in 4 years. There's going to be a lot of challenges. So it's good to be optimistic. I like it. But let us differentiate idealism from reality. If I bring out my voter's card now, I have it here. If I ask some of us here to bring out their voter's card, they don't have it. This is mine. They don't have it. This is my card. So we can keep on talking theories and saying things are going to be well. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But I hope and I wish that this country come out of this nonsense and we will get it right. Thank you very much.